Hey guys, what's going on? I actually have some pretty exciting news today. So if you've been following my channel for a little while, you know that I've covered Roblox in two separate videos. One where we were just going into the valuation, financials, all kinds of stuff because we knew that it was going to go public. And then another video where we updated back in January based on their announcement that they weren't going to be doing a traditional IPO, but they were going to be doing a direct listing. So this morning on my Discord, ASAP Joshi 714, thank you, this is a shout out to you, for letting me know at 10:48 a.m. that Roblox shares are going to begin trading on March 10th. So naturally, I had to jump in, I had to do my due diligence and figure out all the information behind this. And so if you're looking for that kind of info, you're in the right place. Please consider subscribing. It really helps me a lot. If you really appreciate this kind of content, then please like. So I'm gonna jump right into it, guys. So we've got an article here that I'm just gonna glance over because a lot of this is gonna be recap on what I did in those past two videos. And I'll throw those cards up here on the top right in case you want to dig deep into the financials and figure out if this is a stock that you're really going to be interested in. And if so, definitely do your due diligence. Definitely look into the numbers, the financials, revenue, all that kind of stuff. We're going to glance over that, like I mentioned, but I go way more in depth on my previous videos. So we have this article here, which is titled Roblox Plans to List Shares on March 10th. It reports an 82% revenue growth to $923 million for 2020. So if we go down, I have an area here that's actually highlighted. I'm going to jump right into this first. Roblox's plan to list earlier were held up by the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, which asked for accounting changes on the sale of virtual currency, Robux, which is how the company generates revenue from its users. So they sell in-game currency, Robux, which is bought by the players, and then they usually have this kind of revenue sharing with the developers of the games within Roblox. Players purchase Robux and spend the money in games generated by users themselves. Roblox keeps 30% of the revenue and shares the bulk with developers. So I love that business model. I go into that further in my other videos, but that business model to me is just, it's a feedback loop. And it's, you know, the more developers you get in the game, the more games you have, the more people that are attracted to it, the more that they spend money, the more the developers make, and then it's just a constant recurring feedback loop. I love it. It's the same thing that Skills is doing with their stock. So I digress, going back into it. The company said revenue grew 82% last year, $923.9 million for the year ended December 31. This whole part of the article goes into all those financials, their daily active users, how it just absolutely exploded during the pandemic. I mean, Roblox has honestly just taken off this past year. And now that they're going public, I mean, the hype is real. Now, one of the things I do want to touch on is the actual SEC filing, the prospectus that got amended for this. So we have engaged Goldman Sachs & Co. LLC, Morgan Stanley & Co. LLC, and B of A, which is Bank of America Securities Incorporated, as our financial advisors to advise and assist us with respect to certain matters relating to our listing. So these are basically the firms that they hired to assist them with the direct listing of their stock. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying IPO. That's important because, again, back in January, they switched from an IPO to a direct listing. The main reason for this was because DoorDash and Airbnb at the time when they IPO'd, just before when Roblox was planning to IPO back in December, what had happened with that was they had a listing price that was provided to them by the underwriters, such as Goldman Sachs or Bank of America or whoever it was that Airbnb and DoorDash had. And the stock popped so high above that number that, you know, it leaves a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth of those companies that are IPOing because they don't get any of that money from the price, the stock price, IPO price going up. They only get the money from what it's listed at and based on those shares selling. However many shares they're issuing, you know, whether it's 100 million shares, 200 million shares at that price, that's what they get. So with that, going back to Roblox, in connection with the direct listing proposed for March 10th, 2021. So I highlighted this section specifically because this is where in this amended prospectus that March 10th, that date comes up. Another part I really wanted to read on this was the following area where it says, based upon information known to it at that time, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and Bank of America are expected to provide input to the DMM, which is the designated market maker regarding their understanding of the ownership of our outstanding Class A common stock and pre-listing selling and buying interest in our Class A common stock. The financial advisors will not engage in a book building process as would typically be undertaken by underwriters in a registered initial public offering. Instead, the input that the financial advisors provide to the DMM will be based on information they become aware of from potential investors and holders of our Class A common stock, which may include certain of the registered holders in connection with investor education regarding the process mechanics of the direct listing. I'm going to skip the next sentence and then jump down to in their capacity as our financial advisors and who are available to consult with the DMM in accordance with the NYSE rules are expected to provide the DMM with our fair value per share as determined by our most recently completed independent Class A common stock valuation report dated as of December 31st, 2020, which was $41.52 per share of Class A common stock and takes into account the sale price of our Series H preferred stock of $45 per share. So that right there is why they go direct listing. Basically what they're saying is their financial advisors, the designated market maker, the brokerage dealers that are going to be working with the designated market maker to more or less establish a price based on buying and selling orders. That is what's going to determine the price instead of underwriters that determine an IPO price. So this direct listing is going to give, in theory, Roblox a more substantial starting price, so to speak, so that they don't feel like they left any money on the table. Of course, who's to say otherwise? For all we know, this stock could still pop on day one and the same thing could happen. But going direct listing is supposed to hedge against that in Roblox's favor. But we'll see. So jumping into this Barron's article, I just want to mention really quickly that they're seeking to sell roughly 200 million shares and that their valuation was at 29.5 billion when they did announce that they were going to a direct listing. I did mention this in my last video that this valuation, in my opinion, is very high. However, I don't see the hype around this really causing that to be taken too much into account just because of the market we're in and overall just so many companies being overvalued right now. And I think that's really the new norm with these low interest rates and the Fed not really giving any signals that these interest rates are going to be going up, and then with stimulus checks probably on the horizon as well. One pretty cool thing I do want to point out on this Wall Street Journal article is Roblox also said in the filing that its chief executive, David B., will forego any cash and equity compensation as of the company's direct listing. Instead, the CEO who co-founded the company and remains its largest shareholder will be eligible to earn long-term performance-based stock compensation that he intends to donate toward philanthropic purposes, the filing shows. If Roblox's stock is trading at $165 a share or higher 2 years after listing, the CEO will get 750,000 restricted stock units, according to the filing. If shares trade at $375 or higher 5 years after the listing, he will receive 2 million restricted stock units. Those are some crazy price targets. The fact that they baked that in, to me, is just, it's a pretty bullish signal for the kind of growth that they can expect to see. I mean, granted, it doesn't mean that they're going to hit that, but that's pretty cool in my opinion. And I love it when they have these incentives built in for the CEOs, because then of course it aligns the interests of the shareholders with the CEOs. And so that's really it, guys. This video is meant to be a short one. It's meant to just give you the basics on all the new news we have on Roblox. So again, one last time, if you want to go into the financials, if you want to understand all the revenue and different items that I've covered previously, then click up here. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'd love to, have you along for all new videos. And then if you're not part of our Discord channel where we talk about all kinds of stocks or just anything in general, then by all means, please click down in the description and join us on the Discord. Until next time, guys. See ya.